The Crash Course Podcast is brought to you in part by DerbyParts.com. The 2015 Bash for Cash and Smash It Demolition Derby. Lockwood Motorsports and the 2015 Keystone Nationals. Scioppa Racing and ScioppaRacing.com. And Derby Inc. Magazine. Live it, breathe it, be it, Derby Inc. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby Podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquart.
Good afternoon and welcome to Crash Course episode number 82. Got a big show on deck. We're going to be moving through a lot of topics through the course of the night. Jared Haney is going to be joining us. I know Ben can't wait to talk to Jared. And Ben Haas is joining us in studio here.
Chris, who's the new guy sitting next to Ben?
I'm getting there. Anybody recognize him? He's the guy that used to be on the show all the time.
Blast from the past.
Josh Decker joining us here in studio with Ben Haas, Brian Tompkins.
Stop
here.
right there for a second.
What?
Brian got a haircut. Go back to Brian.
Okay.
Does he not look like two things?
Captain Kangaroo.
Bald bull from Knockout. And do you remember when you were a kid, you used to get those things that were $1 and they used to have a magnet and you could move the hair up to the guys. Brian looks like that bald guy. That Wooly Willy.
Wow, it would be awesome to see Josh Decker get his ass kicked on the Crash Course podcast.
Brian, we just started. Come on. I haven't seen you in a while.
when Brian turns you into a pretzel, it's going to be awesome.
Bald bull.
We got Jeremy Kish coming on a little bit later on. If we can shoehorn Matt Ertman in, we're going to give him a couple minutes real quick. If we can grab him and then Bo Lockwood on the back half. Joining us here in studio, who made his podcast debut, Jason Sherman's here. Man, thanks for making the drive up.
Hey, no problem.
Make sure you swing that microphone right in so that everybody can hear you.
He had to drive with me the whole time.
It's like court testimony. Get it in close.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Don't out me. Don't out me.
I didn't say what side of testimony.
Right.
I just said court testimony.
I was warned against that very clearly. There was going to be none of that shenanigans over the weekend. But
There's never shenanigans.
Jason did a great job on the show,
did.
Along with Brandon Tyson, who made his play-by-play debut working at the Crossroads of Destruction. Jeremy Kish winning the 80s class. Jared Haney winning the Old Iron class. Ryan Maslowski coming away with a win in the truck class.
After tipping his father over.
He did get an assist on that one, didn't he?
I just read about it. I haven't watched the whole show yet.
And Sam Bandow coming away with a win in a thrilling Imperial class, and that I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are going to be paying attention to that. We do have some orders of business here on the home front. While we were all out on the road and working on cars and getting things together, the Derby community lost a couple members of it at home. First of all, tragic accident at the autocross events at Broome-Tioga Speedway took the life of Mike Smith, driver the number 17. He's a guy that I've come to know a little bit over the last couple of years. He's been insanely supportive of everything that we have gone into, and it leaves a big hole in the legal community. Jeremy Smith and Andy Vona both being struck by this. It was a tragic accident. Without getting any of the details of it, it's something that was absolute surprise, and we've been thinking a lot of him. I know this is something that was important to Josh too.
Well, Mike is a guy that's right from my hometown area. He's from Owego. Mike and I have virtually been running just as long as each other. We're at all the same shows, but he runs compacts mostly. Just such a great person. He's just one of those guys, and this always happens to the good guys, just like Ricky. I'm telling you, this Mike Smith was a guy that every time I needed parts, a tow, a haul, gas, he was there to help you for anybody. Just such a really great guy, and he's got a beautiful daughter. I think she's like maybe 15, 16-year-old Shiloh. Those two were inseparable. They run together. They derbied. They had such a great bond with each other, and really Mike he has a whole group of guys over there. I don't even know how many guys work out of his garage, and I'll be honest when I say it, I think it's 20. There's 40 cars behind his house, and Mike was the kind of guy that let everyone come to his house. You use my parts, you use my electric, you use my welder, I'll hold your cars for you. There's not enough derby guys like that, and we just lost a really good one. And there's been a lot of negative happening in I think all of our lives, and we're gonna miss this guy for sure. He was he's a big part of the derbying around our area, and he's won Broome County a million times. He's won Owego. He won Wego's $3,000 one, I think, last year or the year before.
Yeah, last year he won that compact show. He's won at Black Rock before. We've seen him in action in Morris. a couple times. It was a tough thing to come across. And then John Peck, who's celebrating a birthday, lost a member of his family, Big Josh. We lost him, so our thoughts go out to John Peck. Tough, even further compounding it. It was birthday weekend for him, and also a belated happy birthday to Pete Hansen.
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, can I touch
Big
back
4-0.
on Mike real quick, though, because I just want to say his calling hours, because there's a lot of people that are interested in that. They're at Monroe's Funeral Home that's right in Owego, and it's going to be on Thursday from 4 to 7, and his funeral's Friday morning at 10 o'clock. So anybody, please make it out there. If they want to contact me, you can run down with me, but I'm definitely going to be there. So Thursday night, make sure you're there. Support a guy that was supporting a ton of people for a long time.
I remember he ran in Cuba before, too, and caused a lot of chaos there.
He's one of them guys that was flat foot nonstop. And one time, and if I could just tell one story I know he was proud of. One time I run a 65 Imperial against all compacts in a cleanup show. And Mike was the one that started this. He was saying, I'm going to junk you in my compact. He was driving a Hyundai Elantra, that had been run 5 times. It was a hunk of shit. I'm in a boxcar Imperial. And this son of a bitch he bent every single one of my tires, knocked my bumper off, was smoking me out of my seat because I couldn't catch him. He would loops around. Finally, at the end, it comes down to me and Mike, and I did catch him, and I did win. But as soon as he got out, he looked at me. I remember him saying to me, "I told you my Comcat could run with an Imperial." And I gotta say, he's one of the few people that would probably make that true. I mean, he was a good dude for sure. So I'm gonna miss him big time.
Yeah, definitely leaves a hole in the community. Jared Haney joining us on the hotline. He won the Old Iron class at Crossroads of Destruction. Man, thanks for joining us here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Tell us a little bit about Crossroads from your perspective. I know we were out there and we had an absolute ball. You were able to. You sort of had your pick of the litter with the way everything played out. Ray Stoker occupied himself with the new Ford. Colton Newhoff and Randy Maslowski, they paired off. The guy right off the bat with that roundback wagon broke a stick, hit whoever you wanted.
Yeah, it played in my favor, that's for sure. I knew going in, if I played my cards right, that if one of them suicides didn't get a hold of me, that I could maybe play that game and play both sides. And honestly, I won down there last year and kind of did the same thing. There was 2 groups of people, and I was friends with both groups and came away with a win both years in a row now.
And you're the last car mobile, and Colton was hung up on Randy Maslowski. You went over and you knocked him off. You didn't want to take the win with the shot clock expiring that way. Did you, as the feature played out, did you at any point look back and maybe regret knocking him free?
No, I didn't regret it. I know it came down to kind of not the best ending, but me and Colton are actually good buddies, and he would have done the same to me.
Now, what do you mean by that? He would have knocked you free?
By knocking him off.
Gotcha.
I didn't want it to end that way. I wanted to finish it the right way.
How's starting to line up a hit, and you look at the guy that you're about to collide with, and he's holding his steering wheel well away from the steering shaft.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Ben's done that.
Was that? I mean, were you surprised to see that? That's not something that I would anticipate you expect to see.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where we got into the argument at the end. I guess I thought it was over. I know they were saying it was a safety issue, but
sure.
I guess the way I looked at it, his equipment failed. It's no different. Let's say my battery came unhooked. Well, when I bend over to hook it up, the guy that's hitting me can still hit me. I had a shot lined up on him. I could have kept hitting him, and I didn't. And I kind of felt like I got the shaft on that part of the deal. That's why I was kind of upset at the end. But I guess it worked out in my favor anyway. So
sure. You did quite a number on your car in the qualifying heat, coming away with the Mad Dog Award in the 80s class. Stood the nose up on that thing pretty severely.
Yeah, I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations in that class. I actually threw that car together in 3 days, and
wow,
I was just there to have fun in that class.
I've seen guys do stuff like that at some of the bigger shows. I mean, they'll run a class earlier, and I think it helps to get some of the.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah, it kind of helps to get the nerves where you want. Not I don't know if nerves is the word.
No, you push the adrenaline out.
Yeah, you get the adrenaline out. Okay, I went out and junked
Yeah.
stuff, and now I can just drive.
Yes,
but I've seen that. I think I've seen it at Cuba a couple times. I think Brett ran the whatever class they called it before the
economy.
Yeah,
Economy class.
and then Brett, he'd go out and usually win the feature. But I've seen some other guys do it. I think that definitely helps. I mean, it kind of gets you in the driving mode, and you get your aggression out, and then you can just concentrate on driving. I think that's a good idea when you can do it.
Cool.
So when did they end that feature? When did they end that feature? When the steering wheel came off?
Jared.
No, they actually, well, they kept going, or we started going again after the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And then my kind of argument was, well, why'd you guys stop it for him? I kind of thought that was BS. They stopped it for him. I'm like, well, I could have just kept hitting him. I honestly thought when I was in my car and he waved me off, I thought I won. I thought it was over.
Yeah,
I did too.
Wait, Colton waved you off?
Yeah, well, he was back
done.
in the corner, and I didn't see his wheel come off. But what I saw was the wheel in his hand, and he was waving him off.
It's over.
So I was under the impression when I was sitting there, I thought maybe he got hurt, or maybe a training cooler was burning him or something, because it looked like he was. I thought he pulled the wheel off, like trying to get out of the car quick. But I obviously at the end I realized it was something different. But
if you see
he was waving his arms.
Then that's the end of the Derby, right?
Yeah, if he waved you off, that was the end of the Derby. But
Yeah.
if they played that out to the end of the Derby, they got the call wrong, because Colton actually made the last hit on you from the camera angle that I was watching.
Right. Yeah, and that was when I got out of my car, that's what I said. I'm like, now my steering's broke. He taps me. He wins when technically I should have already won.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
The one when
That's why I asked
he
you.
beat me up. And
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yep.
Yeah, because I've had times where I've seen guys wave off. I can think of a time in an Imperial Heat, a guy waved me off 3 times,
Oh, they
and then
s-
kept, and
oh,
then
they
and then
suck.
son of a bitch up, and
Yeah,
I will smoke you again.
Yep. He can wave all he wants. The
That's
next
a-
shot, it's
yeah.
gonna be easy.
That's an old school trick I've seen before too. Guys
Yeah.
waving somebody off, saying,
That
"Hey, don't
is-
hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me," and then next
But
thing you know,
if you do that, you're a lady.
Yeah.
Men don't do that.
I hear you.
Yeah.
right, and that's how I kind of felt. I felt I had a shot lined up on him too that I could have took, that I didn't take. And then, you never know. It could have been a kill shot for him.
But was Colton understanding at the end of that? Did he say like, "No, I waved off"? He understood that, or was he fighting, like saying, "No, let me keep going"? What was he saying?
He's was competitive as me. He kind of felt the opposite of me. He thought it was a safety thing, that it was okay what he did. I guess I had my own opinion. He had his.
Yep.
I'm not saying my own opinion was right. I kind of put Matt and the officials in a hard spot, I guess, by kind of arguing, but I felt I was right. There's a lot of money on the line. And
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Understood.
But I tell you, that's definitely a different region, because when we ran New Alex, I had that steering wheel in my hand I don't know how many times.
Right, 40
And I'm here to
times.
tell you, officials were sitting there looking at me, and they're like,
Put it back on. Get it back on.
"Sorry for your luck, dude. I guess you better put your fucking steering wheel back on."
Whoa. Yikes.
It's like,
Now, I can see the danger in that, though. I do
Oh,
see
for
the
sure.
safety of that. There's just
For
a
sure.
rod sticking out there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that
You
would
got to
hurt.
get that on.
definitely, but man, that's
That's
never.
interesting.
See, I wasn't able to watch this heat. I got home from work and started watching, and my wife was on me about our usage for the month, and I'm like, but there's a Derby on. So I watched some, and then I went to work on a car and came back, and I watched the Impete, but I missed this, and hopefully I'm going to sit down and watch everything so I can. But it sounded like it was a great show. I mean, I saw the aftermath, and there were some junk cars around. So
No, that was an awesome heat. The Old Iron Heat was a good heat.
Yeah, with the exception of a few, I thought even the 80s did a lot more aggressive driving than I thought. I thought it was going to be a bag fest, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
there was a few of them that drove the
it was a
winner.
lot better than I thought.
Well, Jared, let me ask you this, because Sherman and I were talking about this on the way up, because I run a lot of chain derbies. And I don't understand how the front of them cars were staying straight so long, especially in front of the A-arms.
Were you able to tilt them?
You could tilt them.
Yeah, I was real surprised too with the metric GMs. I mean, every metric GM I ran, of course, I'm not a builder. These guys are, but everyone I think bent at the fire or at the in front of the
Jared,
A-arms.
were
everything
these,
bent at the
were
firewall.
these just stock in front of the A-arms? Like literally, you guys didn't touch nothing. You just welded hard-nosed your bumper on, or what was in front of the A-arm there?
Are you talking about in the 80s class?
Yes,
Your 80s
yes,
car,
80s class. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, in the 80s class?
Yes.
Yeah, no, we couldn't do anything ARMs for no seam welding or anything. I know mine was pretty hard. Mine was decent for a little, but I didn't put a lot of. I kind of built mine like an old iron. I had the front end way high and the back end low. I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. I didn't really care, to be honest. I know some of them guys had the front ends way low. They're running small tires and kind of take the leverage out of it, I guess.
And were they running cradles, DPs, and everything else?
You could have a lower cradle, I believe.
Lower
Yeah.
cradle, no DP.
Yeah,
You
so
could run a lower
Steel
cradle,
bells.
but you had to run a
And no
stock
steel bells.
cross number, no trainee brace,
Dude,
none of that other
some
stuff.
of them
You had to run
I'm with you, Ben.
stock
Some
motor
were
mounts
way
too,
too
so
hard.
really.
Yeah, I
Well,
gotta
that's what I
say,
was-
Jared, watching some of those, man, there were cars that were going heat and featured, and they were still straight in the end. And there's no stock derbies I go to that are,
But everything was junk.
No, I
Yeah, but
agree
it
with
wasn't.
that.
It wasn't just something that I noticed. It wasn't just like one or two cars. 'Cause
No, it was
when
a
you
lot
see
of
like
them.
one or two cars, you think, well, okay, maybe they just they got lucky with their hits or picked good shots, or
Yep.
they didn't get caught in a corner or something like that. But it wasn't. It was like every car,
Yes.
every car. So that tells you it was a pretty even build style across the board, and
I was impressed with
everybody
the noses of
competed
a lot
except
of
for the
them.
Mopars.
Yeah, well,
No,
you're right, though. I
Yeah.
watched that.
a lot of LP
Yeah.
cars out there.
Kish that won the 80s class, I'm good buddies with him, and
oh, that car was awesome. That was a metric
he was
caddy.
jamming in the heat, and I couldn't believe it myself. I don't even think he could believe it. He just got out of his car, and he's like, I can't believe how tough this thing was.
Yeah, I think he was one of them that just was running frontwards the entire time. And it's a stock derby. You can't do that.
I was surprised at how I did see from the Magician.
Yes, Lancaster.
Yeah,
Chris Lancaster.
his car when it started to come apart, it looked like it came apart quick.
Oh, they look like a bomb went off.
God,
Yeah.
it was
Did
ugly.
you see the pictures inside of,
No.
the wheel wells and the speaker deck that it just shredded right around?
Well,
It
you
was
can
bad.
see too. You can see at least, and if I'm wrong, Chris, let me know. But it was funny because it looked like he was out driving, trying to qualify. And it looked like he got hit in the rear end about 40, and that went right out the window. And then he was just sending that thing.
Yes.
He was driving
Absolutely.
people.
Because he does that.
I was
Yeah,
surprised
it
how long it was
impressive.
mobile. I mean,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
ugly.
Yeah.
I said that. And it just nosed up. It was like, ugly.
The nose was all
That thing was
shoved up.
screaming though. He was using all the horsepower
And
to move that thing around.
after it started to roll over and the
Yeah.
body was pushing up
Yeah.
and the drive shaft was dumping in the dirt every time he changed. You could only drive forwards because when you put it in reverse, the drive shaft would dig right in. You couldn't go backwards.
You got to be proud of yourself, though, on a build like that. Because, to think, let's say the car was better. It could have taken all that abuse and kept running. I mean, too bad the car felt like shit in 2 minutes.
Well, actually, I think it just a lot of derbies end up. I mean, you just take one bad shot.
Yes.
Because I was interested in watching his car. I talked to him a little bit before the night before, and he seemed like a cool guy. And,
Yeah.
and you can't go wrong with the red, white, and blue.
Yep.
And
Yes.
I'm kind of a
Chris
patriot.
Lancaster, by the way, in case you were wondering, Chris Lancaster is a cool guy.
Yes, Chris is.
So hanging out a little
His
bit.
wife's
and,
cool, too.
Yep, I did talk with her too, and I was
Got her
interested.
camera. Just left her camera home.
One, it was a metric GM, and you don't see a whole lot of them around here, especially in a chain class.
No.
So I was interested on the metric GM, and plus the build, and he was cool. I was really watching. I was looking at the back of his car when he come through inspection, from a distance. I didn't want to get in anybody's personal space, but he had I think it was like a mid 70s Cadillac bumper on the back that he had tilted.
75.
75
Yeah,
caddy
I've
bumper on the
seen
back, and they had a little bit of tilt to it. And I was curious to see how that was going to run. And when the heat started, it was rolling perfect. And then he took one big hit, and it blew everything apart. And if he didn't take that hit,
Who knows?
who knows
right?
what could have happened.
He
But,
California
If you
tunked he California tucked the trunk with the notches. He kept calling it California style. We were in Minnesota, so
Yeah.
we'll just let him have it. But when that started to roll up, it started to roll up real nice. But then the bumper almost leveled out, and somebody got on top of the bumper and got into the sheet metal of the trunk, and it shoved everything forwards.
That's
And
where
it was
having too tough of a bumper hurts you.
I agree.
It was
Yeah,
beginning.
right. It's
yeah.
bent
All
rails.
you need is something to hold the rails together.
But Jason and I were saying, those guys, It depends on where you go, because up here we just all hit nose to nose and we don't care. Out there, they're really more meticulous. They really were. And I think when they seen that hump blow, if you kept watching that heat,
they were on.
When guys seen it, woof, right for
blood
it.
on the water.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And they were eating it.
And I thought that was one of the somewhat unfair criticisms of the first heat. When you look at the drivers that were in heat number 1, and you look at what those drivers were doing, they were driving with smart hits. I mean, yes, they weren't driving at 60 miles an hour, but they were making smart hits, and everybody was staying busy. Bob Meyer and Colton Newhofen had a great battle, and they were picking each other a lot. And
we watched Colton do that at Winter Slam. He did the same thing. Him and Muse squared off, and they battled. I mean, I think Colton's done that a few times.
I would have liked to see him not lose a ball joint.
Oh,
But the thing
yeah.
I don't think that Bob. I don't think he ended up coming out for the feature, did he?
He did not come out for the bell. No, he didn't make it. Wally did. Wally was out there, and I was glad to see Jeremy Guthmuller got the Murata back out for the feature, and
Absolutely.
he picked up right where he left off. And then Lucas Pritchett, he did an awesome job. I mean, that transmission was spiked way up, and the rear end was rolled over, and the drive shaft was dragging around in the dirt. And Chance Langford, who was an assassin in his heat, was slugging everybody. He had all 4 corners of that thing up in the air and had a ton of work to do between the heat. And he got his car band-aided back together and came out and pretty much picked up where he left off. You know, he was back,
that was the thing. I mean,
away.
you know, a little bit I watched. I watched some, and then after the fact, I saw some of the negative the comments about not driving hard. And I'm like, every time I looked on screen, there was junk.
You know what
I mean, it wasn't like there was.
Let's rewind. How long did each heat take average?
Between 25 to 30 minutes,
Yeah, that's what
I
I'd
would
say.
say.
Oh, that's not a long heat. by
No.
no means.
Yeah,
No.
The first heat was 40.
We're used to,
first heat
we're used
was-
to 45 minutes, an hour, hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, we've been there.
2.5 hours.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, the people that are bitching all the time on Facebook and say it's usually the ladle heads that suck, because like anybody that does derbying knows that paces change. Some paces are fast, some are slow. If a pace is slow, then you watch something different. You watch how guys pick this apart or that apart. I get so sick of hearing everyone bitching. Every heat's gotta be everyone blasting each other. It's just not demolition derby.
There was $27,000 paid out that day,
That's
too.
what I tried telling people. I'm like, it's not. Derbying nowadays isn't just about going and trashing your car in 2 seconds.
Correct.
It's everything. It's strategic driving,
Yes.
and sandbagging comes with it sometimes. And you got to respect the guys that can do it. Because I know I've done it both ways, and it's tough to keep your cool and bag. And
Absolutely, and I was talking about that a little bit with Josh on the way up. Is, you know,
Don't talk to him.
on the build that was out there, I don't think that, you know, exception of maybe the imp class and maybe even Old Iron, with those rules, I would probably have junked those cars if I was driving it, and if I would have made it to the 10-minute mark, I'd have been surprised.
Sure.
It'd have been junk.
Jason,
But I
don't think
can't-
anything is going to last more than 10 minutes to you. I've seen you in action.
But it's not. I couldn't drive like that, and it takes skill. It really does. Because
Josh has said that before.
I get out there, I lose my head. You know, 20 years I've been driving. I lose my head, and it would
It's
be
so much
junk.
fun.
I was like that for
and
10 years, though, until one man said to me, you know, you don't have to drive like that every time. You can actually change your driving style each individual derby. And I was like, what? He's like, you can actually slow down. Maybe you slow down and last longer. And like all of a sudden, then I start watching this guy, and this guy's getting 40 minutes out of a run when I'm out in 6 minutes. It's like, you know what? This guy's having way more fun than me.
But you know what? You've touched on it, though. People always bitch and complain about sandbaggers. Well, generally, the guys that sandbag are the guys that take home all the money. And it takes talent to go out there and drive like that. It really does.
And it's
Let's
go.
Go.
because we got
Yeah,
still got
absolutely.
3 or 4 people we got to talk to tonight.
If I could ask one question for Jared real quick. In the Old Iron class, you went out there with a GM, and I was kind of a GM guy. How did you feel going out there with a GM with the suicides in there? Because I know that, you know, they can be a hard card too. Did you feel underdogged, or did you feel real good about your chances?
To be honest, I didn't feel underdogged one bit. I knew, you know, like I said, me and Colton are actually buddies, and we were working together. I knew he probably had the best. I knew he was probably the car to beat. But I also knew if it come down to me and him that I had a lot better chance of out driving him in the car that I had.
Absolutely, you can use both ends. And
We talked
you
about,
could do
me and him,
advantage.
Sherman talked about that. I mean, those suicides were good for about 2 minutes.
Well, you couldn't fix the fronts.
Yep, and then, you know, I'm not saying I did all the damage, but I think that I maybe got most of the tears off of them 3 suicides all by myself. So.
And the car didn't look bad when you finished. Everything looked still pretty good.
Yeah, it did.
A good build.
Anybody that you want to mention real quick before I let you go? We got Jeremy Kish waiting here in the wings.
Nope. I guess Jeremy Kish builds my engine. Don't know if he wants any advertisement, but that's about it. Otherwise, I do a lot of stuff myself. So.
That's awesome. Jared, man, congratulations on the win. We appreciate you coming on the show and hanging out with us for a little while, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man. There goes Jared Haney. Why don't we take a quick minute? We'll queue up some of this stuff so you guys can know where we're headed next, and we will be right back.
And you thought last year was huge. The Bash for Cash returns to the Demolition Derby Limelight Memorial Day weekend 2015. Every bit of action is returning, and there's some more added in. DerbyParts.com is back with the 80s newer class, paying $11,000 to win. DerbyTees.com is back, paying the turn back the clock winner $10,000. And now the Compacts are cashing in, vying for at least $3,000 in their championship event. Action is planned for May 23rd and 24th, again at the Fayette County Fairgrounds in Washington Courthouse, Ohio. Early inspections are planned for Friday, May 22nd. For a full rundown of the schedule and divisions, visit www.smashitderby.com. The Crash Course would like to thank DerbyParts.com, an industry leader in aftermarket parts, to become the go-to source for builders looking to make one stop for all their derby needs. A proud partner of the Reckless Warrior Series and a title sponsor at the Bash for Cash, DerbyParts.com offers products from the top manufacturers in the industry, including fellow Reckless Warriors partners Brian Muir and Big Rock Derby products, and performance aftermarket standouts MSD, Edelbrock, Schonfeld, and Samson tires. Inventory includes cradles, ultra belts, sliders, flex plates, pedal kits, mounts, fans, radiators, adapters, tanks, and much, much more. DerbyParts.com truly offers one-stop shopping for builders ready to perform at any level. Go online and check them out from bumper to bumper. You can find it on DerbyParts.com. Travel back to the good old days of Demolition Derby at the 2015 Kings of Old School, presented by Goodies Graphics and GN Auto Corp. The Kings of Old School will be held June 6th at the Broome County Fairgrounds in Whitney Point, New York. The Old School class is drawing drivers from across the United States, with new drivers signing up and past champions coming out of retirement to take part in the show, with rules written the way the Northeast Derby community wants them to be. The headline Old School class will pay $22.50 to win and will be run in a heats and feature format. The 80s newer kick class filled in less than 6 hours once registration opened. The winners in the division will enjoy a share of a $3,000 purse. The card also includes compacts and junk run divisions. Inspection opens at 8 a.m. Derby action begins at 2. Call Brett Relier at 607-327-2705 or Josh Decker at 607-725-2194 for details. With rule questions, call Mark Benjamin at 607-215-2149. That's the Kings of Old School, June 6th, Broome County Fairgrounds, Whitney Point, New York.
And we're back. We've got Jeremy Kish joining us on the hotline. Jeremy, man, congratulations on that win in the 80s class. That was an awful good run you had over there at Crossroads.
Thank you. It was a great time.
You got a win with your power plant in Jared Haney's car, and then you turn around and back that up with a win in the 80s class. I got to tell you, it was looking like it was Randy Leno's to lose, and Kyle Sake looked pretty good in the 55, but sure enough, those two ended up getting a hold of one another and levied some pretty serious damage. And then from there, you came in and just cleaned up the mess.
Yeah, there's a lot of good cars left there with 5-6 to go. And I just, happened to work out where Colton got hung up, and me and the 124 just finished it off at the end.
And what's it mean to come away with a win like this? The headline class, it's a high purse, high profile show, and a lot of people were picking you early as a favorite. And then once you got qualified for the feature, a lot more people were turning their attention to the 40 car.
Yeah, I really didn't have high expectations. It is a big show, and with the caliber of cars that was there, especially with all the Crown Vics running around, I was just very glad to make the feature, actually.
You say that you were glad to make the feature, but it looked like your car was in pretty good shape when you came out of your heat. How much did you actually have to do to get that car ready to go?
Well, we had one rear rail that dropped to the ground, and it actually ripped my frame in half on both sides, so we had to get that all 9 wired up and just hope it would last through the feature.
all the out there, I don't know if you were paying attention to what was going on online, but all the heats were concluded. Then they did the Power Wheels, and then they did the 80s Consi. And after the 80s Consi was done, everybody that qualified for the feature, their cars were released. So everybody had the same amount of time. They also had unlimited 9-wire, wherever you want to put it. So how much help did that 9-wire offer you? You said you had to spend some time getting that back end fixed after the rails were ripped out of it.
We 9-wired the rear bumper to the roof and just hoped it didn't break off, but it did break off. Both my frame rails were dragging on the ground at the end there. So
Yeah, you did real well in the heat to keep people away from the rear, because I noticed that when we were talking a little bit on the podcast. I thought to pick a winner before the feature, Colton's car was real straight. The Kirk 55 car was real straight, and I could see the ears dumped in the back. And when I picked you as the fan favorite, just because I thought you were running hard in your heat, and that's my fair. I like guys that run hard and win, and I really appreciate that. But I seen you when you come out for the feature that you could see the rear frame rails were broke on both sides, and it was dangling. And I got to be honest with you, I was like, I was a little disappointed, because I was like, man, I thought you would go deep, and you did, and you went all the way. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you. It was a fun run, and like I say, there's a lot of good cars there, and I'm just glad I got the win. It was fun.
What else have you got on your schedule for this year? I mean, this is certainly going to set a pretty good tone. You got some spending money now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty early in the season, and both my kids, they each run cars, so we kind of got a lot of cars to get done. But the next one, we'll be running the Cannon Valley Fair, Cannon Falls, Minnesota.
Okay.
That's a stock show, so for Old Iron.
It's an interesting take on stock out there. Troy Stanky runs out there.
What's that?
You know Troy Stanky?
I couldn't understand. What was that?
Troy Stanky. He's from Cannon Falls. He runs out that way. I've seen some pictures of his car, and it basically looks like a monster truck.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, Cannon Falls is a fun time. What would you think of Crossroads as a whole?
I thought it was a really great show. I mean, Matt does a really good job on inspecting and getting this thing all together. And they have a really good crew, I think. And I think it's just going to grow from here on out.
If there's anything that you would want to do different, what would it be?
Honestly, for the 80s class, I'd like to see it to stay exactly the way it is. I know there was some talk about maybe changing, a little rear end rule, but I'd like to keep it exactly the way it is.
I mean, we didn't see.
Go ahead.
I
think it's a fair build for, all three of the, Ford, GM, Chryslers, I think it's a fair build for all the cars.
On the topic of the Chryslers, how do you think they fared? You said it looked like it was pretty even from your perspective.
I mean, there's a couple Chryslers there, and the one, he had got the Mad Dog Award and made it to the feature, so.
And that's it. And if you
that
noticed,
was really good.
And if you noticed, the Mopar drivers, like most Mopar drivers, they junked their own stuff. I mean, they were running too. So let's not completely beat up Mopar.
That's awesome.
They were in it, and the Mopar guys are running. So
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
They were.
I would have loved
They're
seeing that
putting
our
the
body
gas
go deep.
the whole time, so.
But, when they were nosing, but they were hitting too. So.
That Murata, Jeremy Guthmiller with the Murata.
Oh, that thing was screaming. I'd like to know what motor was in that, because that thing was it was screaming at some
Yeah.
And now I'm
He was
blanking.
running hard. I looked at it after his heat, and his frame was really junk up front. And I can't believe he kept going as long as he did.
And I'm blanking. The Too Easy car.
Too easy. Yeah, it was a.
And I'm
80s.
blanking. Bumble. I just starred you. For all of our video game fans
That's
out there.
awesome.
In terms of. Now I blanked. Now I get so wrapped up in the video game thing.
That metric, what was that, a 79, 80 two-door?
I had a 77 caddy, yeah.
Well, that was hard, man. You had to, I think, a 76 Caprice front bumper on that thing, and it didn't move. I mean, even after, it was, and you were hitting.
Yep.
That was impressive.
And one thing I thought helped out a lot, too, is a lot of those guys had their suspension, bolted solid. I let mine just bounce,
Mm-hmm.
On the
Take
top,
a hit, she'll bounce instead of just staying stiff like that.
I think so. You went down and during the heat, and you spotted it around towards the wall to come back for another hit. And when you spotted it on that track, I don't know if you had a rut or what you hit, but I think all four tires came off the ground, and you bounced.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, the whole car was bouncing coming around that corner. And you were on it.
On the topic of the bouncing, and this is not at all an indication that the track was rough or anything. It's just the stiff suspension that Ray Stoker had underneath the front of his Suicide. When he turned around, he headed down towards pit entrance or track entrance and spun around, and we were track level. Like the car's front bumpers were even with our chins, track level.
Wow.
And when we were sitting at the table, and when he came up the track in the old iron feature, he was basically doing a wheelie. We could see the bottoms of the rim above the blocks. When he
awesome.
he landed above the bumper on that Crown Vic, and I don't think it ever moved from that spot again.
No, I don't think so either.
Oh, you didn't.
But it happened to a few cars. I mean, the number 4 car, I butcher everybody's name. Was it Renger?
Yeah.
Something like that. And he got disqualified there for the door hit. But I think a lot of that was the fact that he was bouncing when he hit, and when he did, the bumper was in the guy's window, and it just looked bad. I think it was poor.
Heinous, but it
Yeah.
wasn't.
You know,
I
almost
think it was
if
just
they
bad luck.
If they would have taken the Bobcat and scraped the track, maybe, because it did look after that one heat, there was a ton of bounce. I do remember seeing wow, there's a lot of bounce going on.
I don't think scraping that track
No,
is the
I don't think
answer.
so, yeah.
No.
What was it? Was it loose dirt?
It's
Looked like
it's
sand.
almost like there's a high sand content in that surface, but there's a really, really, really good base there. So all that talk that we were totally blindsided on that. We expected a lot of cars to be sinking themselves, but that it was almost like a dirt road. Like it was loose on top,
Yeah.
but once you got below that first
Well,
couple inches, it was hard underneath. So
you touched on it with Sam and his heat because he went down the one way and pitched it like he was in a late model,
my
just like you
gosh.
said.
Dude, that was awesome.
And
Dude, he was
never
drifting.
lifted, and then back around.
Dude.
And
I
so I
told
was
Sam that was the best driver. Dude, he was drifting a 67 Imperial around another car. And then dude.
yeah, that was
Loving it.
impressive.
You know the smile on his face.
they were running late models before they were drifting, my friend. And he was carrying the left front wheel. He had the thing rocked over in the right rear, and he was letting it eat like Jimmy Owens.
Dude,
he
that
was
was
hooked
awesome.
up.
To McCready. Yeah, that was impressive. But I was wondering because I saw him come out the one time and water the track, and it made it look a little bit darker. But then by the time I came back later, it looked like all the moisture had gone out of it.
That was a perfect atmosphere too
Yeah, it was
for a
like-
track to dry out because they put the water in. It was a high sand content. It was a clear sunny day, and there was wind.
Yeah.
And I need to vacuum out a lot of equipment before we
Saturday.
go to Brookville this Saturday. We'll be talking.
But I
about
mean,
Lockwood in a
like
few
I said,
minutes.
it definitely looked like it looked like a good track. It looked like they were getting
Awesome.
good traction. There was,
no complaints.
I definitely want to. Like I said, I got to sit down and watch.
There was
the
not
whole
a
thing
bad
and go.
spot to watch from either.
No, that was at the track level.
And it looked big. It looked like the track was good size.
Oh, it was. It was squarer than what you see here on the East Coast.
Put
But,
4 Luminas out there.
Dude, that looks dangerous. Before he started, I'm like, this is going to... Someone's hurting after this.
And
That was crazy.
that was a ton of fun.
To touch on that, we spoke a little bit earlier about guys running multiple heats.
Yeah.
Especially like the truck guys and the 80s guys.
Colton was in 3. Randy was in 2.
Yeah.
Ray
Yeah.
was in 2.
Molosky there, I think he was in a couple there. I've done it before. I've ran a couple cars or a couple different heats at the same show, and our heats are like 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're still a little sore when you get into the next car, and I couldn't imagine. I mean, them guys were working while they were out there
Oh yeah.
running. Even you want to talk about driving styles. Even if they weren't hitting hard, you're still working the wheel, you're still working the gears, you're still moving, you still got your heads on a swivel.
Definitely.
And to go 40 minutes in a heat and then turn around and jump into something else and then go back for the feature. I mean, that's what I mean. That's
Yes,
work.
it's
Another
exhausting.
thing that we touched on during the show on Saturday, and Jeremy is a great person to ask this of, is how important. You're an engine manufacturer, and we saw all this fine particulate in the air getting sucked into those motors when it's 80 degrees out, clear sun beating down on them. What's the motor combination have to be able to stand up to when you've got that much stuff around? Sam Bandow, he talked a little bit about how important your air filter selection was. Jeremy, I mean, can you touch and enlighten us a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I had a nice big air filter, with a wrap, and it still got completely full of dirt. I mean, at the end of the feature there, I could tell I wasn't getting hardly any air through my carburetor.
Yeah. But, I mean, do you get concerned at all with some of that stuff getting through the air filter?
No.
No.
I usually, I'm a guy that I don't care about my equipment. If it breaks, I'll just fix it,
That's what I like to hear.
I think
It don't matter to me. I'll go until there's, until I blow it sky high. It don't matter to me. I'll just rebuild it. So
I think Jeremy had enough fuel going through there to wash it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of these shows that we've been to, we see guys that take their air filters and they'll take essentially a hole saw and punch larger holes through the air filters.
That's what I was gonna say.
And you can't do that here.
I've run small. I've run them small filters
in there and dirt, and then you're really going to destroy your motor in a hurry. You know.
Well, the backside is too. I seen and someone posted online the other day running them little small filters, and that's a huge no-no because you can't get enough air. And I learned that years ago. And so what I do now is I'm with you, man. I don't care about blowing my motors up. I'll poke holes in the back of my air filter because I don't want not enough air. I'd rather suck in some crap than not get enough air.
Yeah,
but you can't do that.
Well, it's a good idea.
Oh, I can. Motor lasts you 2 nights.
His truck, he actually had looked like a dryer vent tubing going from the top of the car to what I assumed was a filter inside the truck.
I've seen a lot of guys do that.
Eastern help with that.
PA trick.
Eastern Pennsylvania, that's real big. Brent Kirshner does that.
Something like mud bogging.
Run them up to the roof.
Yeah,
almost like a
out of the.
That's what's his name gone local there.
Yeah.
Shannon.
Yes.
Shannon.
Shannon ran it on his Mopars. You ran a snorkel on it inside the car.
Oh, I don't remember that. That's
I do.
I've seen
that
Sue,
was Hartford car.
Yeah.
Sue drives number 101, Eastern Pennsylvania. Carl Schaller is another guy that did that. Brent Kirshner, all those guys. They run pretty much all the cars that run J&J shows. You'll see them at one point or another. They've got that set up. Bo Lockwood coming up here in just a few minutes to talk a little bit about the kickstart of the Reckless Warrior Series here on Saturday. Jeremy Kish, winner again of the 80s class at Crossroads of Destruction. Before we let you go, is there anybody that you want to make mention of?
No, just my family for letting me run these shows like this. They're the best.
Well, man,
thank you guys for having such great coverage.
Hey, we certainly do try, and we couldn't do it without people watching, so I appreciate that, and we just look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. We'll see you later.
You're good.
There goes Jeremy Kish, winner of the 80s class. We got to tell you a little bit about the Reckless Warrior Series here coming up.
Saturday.
The kickstart on Saturday at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds. Why don't you guys have a look at this, and we'll be right back. Are you good enough to be recognized as a Reckless Warrior? Bo Lockwood Motorsports' 2015 Demolition Derby schedule will now be combined into the Reckless Warrior Tour, designed to give rewards and recognition to drivers that support Bo Lockwood Motorsports. The schedule starts at the 5,000 to win Superstock Championships May 9th at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Brookwood, Pennsylvania. The tour then goes to the Keystone Nationals, which is moved to the Westmoreland County Fairgrounds June 27th. The Jefferson County Fair Championships follows, with the limited road cars back in the limelight as they chase a $3,000 payday in Brookville, with the Reckoning 2 following on August 1st at the Clarion County Fairgrounds in Clarion, Pennsylvania. The series finishes with the final encounter September 4th and 5th at the Stoneborough County Fair. In all, there is more than $75,000 in prize money available among the 6 shows and features some of the largest purses in the Keystone State. Drivers will earn points based on their feature appearances and heat and feature finishes, with bonuses awarded for passing inspection and getting a stick on the first try. The season will end with a points banquet where Bo Lockwood Motorsports will crown the deadliest warrior. That driver will then have his selection of one of the 10 prizes from the Reckless Warrior partners. For more details on the 2015 Reckless Warriors Tour, visit their Facebook page and check out blmotorsports.net. Demo Derby Masters offers a wide array of stock derby parts and accessories that have all been derby tested. Demo Derby Masters also offers custom fabrication, meaning your homespun garage idea can become a finely produced reality. Their team of engineers and Demo Derby drivers have designed, manufactured, and derby tested all parts to ensure quality and durability, even under the most extreme conditions. DemoDerbyMasters.com also carries a full line of helmets, fire suits, gloves, and belts, and Kaiser's own branded oils and fluids. Parts are manufactured, housed, and shipped out of their 140,000 square foot facility located in Coopersville, Michigan. Order online at DemoDerbyMasters.com or contact them by phone at 800-472-2464 or email info@DemoDerbyMasters.com. And joining us on the hotline, we've got Bo Lockwood, promoter of the Reckless Warrior Series, which is going to kick off at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds on Saturday. We'll get with Bo here and get some thoughts on that. But on the topic of the motors and the debris that can cause problems, I feel somewhat thankful to even be here today as we were taxiing across the tarmac on a plane that's the size of the desk. It began to sound like a string trimmer with this weird surging thing where if you're out there and you're on the throttle, off the throttle, with the right side turboprop started doing that, and then the whole plane began to shudder. And I looked at Jason, and Jason had his eyes closed. And Jason isn't the guy that scares easy. And
It had 2 engines on it.
It had 2,
It had
which
2.
is good. And I mean, how
The
much?
second one would have taken you right to the scene of the crash.
No, I don't know. I mean, because once you
Right to
reach
the
your
ground.
once you reach your cruising altitude of 60 feet in those, I don't think you really have too much to worry about when you crash through somebody's house. But anyway, so then the pilot comes on the radio and says the engine maintenance light has come on and we need to return to the gate. And a solid 2 hours later, they put us back on a plane that looked an awful lot like that first one that we were on.
You laugh, but when I first got in,
The flat tire.
the flat tire on the plane. Yeah, that was an interesting part on the same plane. But when I got in my seat, the seat next to me was open when they closed the door, and I was like, that never happens. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, how often do you get to not have somebody sitting next to you on a plane, you know? And so I took the little air things and I put them both on me, you know.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm kind of hanging out there, and and we taxi out and we go back. When we got on the second plane, that's the first thing I looked at is, are both of those pointing towards me? Because if they are, I know this is the same plane. They were.
And you were walking home from Newark.
That's funny, dude.
They were?
No, they weren't.
Oh,
It was a different
you just
plane.
bought Chris'
But
house.
when I walked in there, I looked up and I said, "Oh, all right, it's not the same plane. This one's got 2
we
motors
dodged that
and
bullet.
it has air in that tire."
But a couple of the grounds crew walked over to the tire, which is, I think it's like a 37 ply tire.
Oh yeah,
And they looked at it and determined that it might be low on air pressure. And to confirm, the wise young lad kicked it.
yes, yes. I swear I watched it right out of my window. He walked up, he looked at it, and then he kicked it. And I'm like, awesome. I don't even do that on my cars. I at least check the pressure. I don't just kick tires.
All
But,
you gotta do is make it down the runway.
That's
Yeah.
all. That's landing. Who's worried? What's the worst that could happen? But and side note, Jessica Pelkey, he was working side by side with Melissa. Most Hospital gave everybody room. We worked together. He had a little bit of camera trouble. I think we're going to be able to help him out with that. He came on the show. He's doing the DVD from out there at Crossroads. Make sure you show that guy some love. Support Jessup. He's a real good dude.
Good dude, and man, he
Awesome
was
guy to hang out with.
busy. He was all over the place.
He was running his ass off, and then he ended up losing his in-car camera that was in Triggs Imperial. Which the thing is if you looked in the cockpit of Sam Bandow's, it might be where it is, because when they hit head-to-head, it probably broke the thing off. But Bo Lockwood joining us here. Bo, man, you excited about getting this thing off and running?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was talking
Been
about
a
the
long
racetrack.
winter of just talking about it. Now it's actually time to see something happen out here.
And you've got just about a full plate. There's still a few spots left if somebody wants to try and squeeze their way in. I know we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a ball down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, yesterday I got my 100th entry in the mail.
Nice.
So we go. We're
It's
closed
full.
up.
That's
So
awesome.
5 heats of 20 it is.
That's awesome.
That's what it's going to be. It's actually going to be 4 heats of 25.
Oh, man.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's gonna be an awesome night. The list of drivers on that, I'm super. I haven't been this excited to run in a long time, to be honest with you.
So you're going to be taking.
That's what I like to hear for sure.
I'm pumped, man.
So you're going to be taking.
I'll get about 24th place. I seen the list. It's like, I don't care what heat I pull, I'm screwed. I mean,
So out of the heats, you're going to be taking 4 out of the heats, another 4 out of the consi, and then
It'd be 4 out of the heats, 3 out of the consi, and then the last remaining spots, the raffle car spot.
Jesus, it's gonna be tough to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
So,
go right to the
and you
consi.
know what? This is what we wanted. This is when you're talking a show of this caliber. I mean, it's attracted the best drivers in this area and on the East Coast.
that's right. I was
And,
talking.
that's what you expect. I mean, you go to any professional event, and it's full of talent. It is
Yeah.
completely chock full of talent from entry 1 the whole way to entry 100, and it's just going to be good. This is the perfect start for a Reckless Warrior Point series, because this first one's going to shake it up right off the bat.
I was talking with Brian about how hard it is to qualify for this show, and he goes, "Yeah, if you want to soft sort of qualify for it, just go to Kings of Old School."
Oh man, how dare you say that, Brian?
Remember?
Bull's about to get popped.
Why am I the one that takes the abuse from Chris Marquart?
No, I gotta say, like hearing all everybody on Facebook, because Facebook has picked up the last week of everyone going on May 9th, and cars and cars and cars. But everyone seems real excited. It seems like everyone's ready. I mean, you're going to have to battle. Your heats are going to be features.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to have to battle, but you're going to feel real proud. You make it. I just want to make it out of my heat up here.
Yeah, if
I
you
want to
can
make
qualify for the feature, you did something.
Yes, you
Absolutely.
did. Yes, you
Absolutely.
did. And then the guy that wins the feature is just going to be a guy that had a great night and did not miss any little things.
Right.
Hey, Bo, take your promoter hat off for a minute and put your driver hat on. If you were coming to this show, what kind of car would you run?
What kind of car would I be in?
For this show.
Oh, man. As a driver?
Yeah.
As a driver, my God, I don't know. I mean, every car, I mean, when you think about it, every car has its advantages,
Yeah.
you know, and disadvantages. But it just seems like the GMs, you know, like a 70s GM or an 80s Ford, they just, the drivetrains, you just feel like they can just keep going. A lot of the times, the Mopars, they're just nasty hard, and they create more carnage than anything you've ever seen, and then they seem to not be there at the end. But at the same time, you got a guy like Chance Smith last year walked all over the field with a Mopar. So,
And Mike
I don't
Martini,
know.
who
I'd
finished third.
probably be in a Pala or a Deuce or a 98, something like that, if I was running.
Yeah.
The raffle car is a nasty roundback.
No, it's actually a 76 Impala.
Oh, my mistake. That I got the raffle cars mixed up there, I think.
Yeah, that's all right. We got so many of them. But yeah, it's a 76 Impala. It's a good, clean car. I mean, it's 99% done. I still got a little bit to do to it yet. But yeah, it's across the board. I mean, I'm not sure I'm not sure there's there's a maker model that we don't have entered. There's all kinds of different cars, and it's pretty wild. It's going to be a good one.
It's awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
After this weekend, I'm pretty sure the stock on the Metric Caddies is going up out this way.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what. We've seen some. We know some guys out there that are trying Metric Caddies this year, and they look nasty. I've seen
Brandon Tyson.
I've seen some
Yes.
pictures of some builds, and they seem to have them figured out. And those cars are, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple make it, some of the bigger shows this year, some of the big team shows.
I just seen a post last week. It was on Facebook. Somebody in the Northeast site said they were looking for the 77 and 79 caddies, and they had a picture of one on there that was nasty. It was black, and it was creased up, and I think it was tilted.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was that was on there, but I think they're going to make a comeback, I think.
I do believe there is quite a few of them entered for Saturday, so it'll be anxious to see how they do.
And that's what time we kicking that thing off on Saturday?
7 o'clock, sharp.
Sharp. I
Biggest
like
thing
that.
is, one thing for all the drivers that are listening, I do want the drivers to understand that inspection does close at 6 o'clock. So at the 6 o'clock mark, if your car is not inspected, I'll do everything I can for you as a driver or as a promoter, but at 6 o'clock, there's nothing I can do for you at that point.
I'm getting there early.
So, we do need to make sure your car is inspected by 6. Not in the line by 6 o'clock, completely inspected by 6 o'clock.
So you probably ought to be there before 5:15, Josh.
I'm getting there at 1.
Okay.
I got stuff going on that day. My car's got a roll-through inspection, and then I got other stuff going
I know
on.
some people are wishing you were doing it the night before now.
Is there anybody local that sells gas? got air gas right on site?
That'd be awesome.
There's
It is definitely something that I want to make sure that goes with all of our shows this year. One thing that I have not delivered on in the past is starting my shows at the right time, because I think just about every one of my shows I have pushed that inspection line as long as I could and tried to make sure that everybody got in and at least had enough time to get their cars inspected. But it's to the point now where we really gotta tighten the ropes on everything, and unfortunately that's one thing that we got to make sure we stick to as well.
Well, you got 100 cars, Bo. If 3 guys aren't listening, then see you later, because the other 97 listened.
Absolutely.
That's right. And the guys, they're amped up. My officials are amped up. They understand that this is a stock derby. This isn't one of those limited weld shows where we encourage a lot of building. We encourage we encourage the people to try to get one by us in a limited weld class. This isn't the case. This is a stock show. This is meant to be kind of a quick build and a lot of fun, and we're going to treat it the same way in the inspection line too. But it'll be a good one. It'll be fun. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, I'm pumped about it right now.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward
Some
to
of
it.
the iron there, I love when you pull out on a track, it's just all clean iron. I mean, you're going to have to fight for it, but again, whoever wins is you had a good night.
And that's the thing. I think something that's really, is really adding to the excitement is you get on, you go on Facebook and you see the drivers that are talking about being excited about being there. And I mean, there's some big name drivers that are excited and, talking about the show. And it's just, we've traveled halfway across the country. Now we basically have one in our backyard for all intents and purposes. It's going to be great to see this derby.
Are you ready for this? I've had at least, I'm going to say probably 5 people that we met up with this weekend that are planning on trying to come to Pennsylvania next Saturday.
Really?
Not necessarily with cars, but just to come and scope it out, which I think is I think that's a huge nod to this show, and if they like what they see, do it again in 4 weeks, because the Keystone Nationals is literally right around the corner.
Yeah.
Bo, I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
I got a question for you, because your area is a little bit. They're building a little bit harder than up this way. Do you think a guy that is from, like, let's say my area, coming more stock to your show?
Does his name rhyme with posh?
No. No. I want to ask who Bo thinks. I want to ask Bo, do guys that are building harder, okay, build really hard cars. I'm going to throw Todd Siopa out there. He's got to step back to build this car. Do you think that guy is got a better chance of winning, or would you say the guys that are more used to building stocker have more of a chance to try to come up a little bit? Who do you think will see? What I think is guys that are super heavy build, they're going to do things that they think are just every day, but they're overbuilt or whatever. And I'm interested in see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think how I think it's going to go is you got these guys that are so used to running the limited weld. They're so used to having stout noses and rear ends that they can rely on.
Yeah.
And now they don't have that.
Yep.
They don't even remotely have anything close to that. And I think you're going to see the guys that don't normally build the heavier cars. I think you're going to see them. You're going to see them in the mix. That's for sure. I don't feel that. I think it might surprise a lot of these guys that haven't been in a stalker style ride. It's going to surprise them quite a bit how quick their nose starts folding.
We've heard from a lot of drivers.
Listen to Pete. Last time he ran, he's like, I haven't run a piece of junk like this in
Ever.
These guys running a lighter build all the time know exactly how they can push your car and how much they can push your car.
Correct.
Like Bo said, you get these guys in your heavier build cars, they're gonna nose their shit in 5. They're gonna get wound up.
No, see, I
torqued
disagree.
off.
I disagree. I think I think you're right that their stuff's going to get lit up, but I think that they're going to mentally be in a spot where they've got a softer car. They're going to go with a slower pace, and the guy that has the stocker car now can run harder than he usually will, and he can catch some of those heavier built guys sleeping.
But I think the guys that are used to building heavier are usually also, they can take bad shots. They can give bad shots. When you're in a stock car and you take one bad shot to the rail, that's the end of your night.
Yep.
So I'm really interested how that plays. I think it's going to be exciting to see the bigger guys come down and some of the smaller come up. And I like the rule
package,
setup.
The rule package we got is like a perfect middle ground.
I love the
for
rules.
For
I
East
enjoy
Coast.
my build.
This middle ground rules is ideal, and it's a great way to kickstart everything because, like both said, they're keeping track of points top to bottom, and you are going to see some wild cards in there. And there's some guys that are primed, they're hungry, and they're due. And then you mix that together with, we've heard how many, like Chris Lancaster even this weekend, talking about how hard it was to detune his build. We've heard about Bobby Brockway and Ryan Durham when they talked about coming out here for that team shows they had with Scott Brown in Hamburg at the Erie County Fair in New York.
How does that play in mentally? Because we were talking about before. Now, if you talk to Chris, and especially his wife there a little before the show, if you talk to them, they almost felt disappointed in their build because it wasn't the same build they always wanted. Now, if you have a driver that builds and they're coming out on the track, because you always want to drive out there thinking that you're 10 foot tall, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if they're coming out there on the track feeling a little disappointed in their car because it's not usually as hard, and you got somebody that drives a stock class building up, I mean, they're going to come out there like Superman. They're going to be like, man, this is the best car I've ever built. Versus the guy that says, man, this thing's kind of junk. Man, I couldn't do this.
Jason, I'm with you. I think you are so right on that. You are absolutely right. The mental game is going to screw with the guys who are saying, like, because let's be honest, let's say a guy that's used to building hard, he takes one hit, or he keeps hitting the brakes because he's like, oh, geez, I don't know if can my front take it. Can my front take it? No, it can't.
And another guy comes across
and smokes him sideways
because he knows what he can do.
See, I'm excited.
Yeah, I
guess
mean,
it's
to me, it's like right in my build house. And well, you were at my house. I was enjoying my build, and usually I don't. I just scab stuff together. I don't give a shit.
No. I'm excited. I was telling you on the way up. I'm excited. I've been watching a lot of videos online for the last couple of years. That's what I do. That's what I. Don't tell the taxpayers. That's what I do at work most of the time. Is I watch derby videos. But, and the Siopas, I have never met them, and I can't wait. I'm probably most excited about that, going out there and seeing them guys in person because they look like they just look like they're a blast every time you hear them or see them on there. I mean, they look like they're just having the time of their lives. It's just a blast.
Yes.
Yep, definitely.
Here's the one crazy thing that that a few of my officials and I were talking about. You see guys that they're starting to fall apart, or their car. Every Derby driver knows when it's almost up, when your time's almost up.
Yep.
Your car's about finished. Now, like if you got a limited weld car and you're at that point and you're just going to take somebody down with you, normally you give them that one last real hard shot, and it's probably not going to take the car you hit out. But now, you got some of these guys that are you're dealing with points now too. So you get down into the feature or even into these heat races where there's a couple guys out there that are going to be running for points and going to be running against you for points later in the season. And your car's starting to wind down, and you got that one shot left to take somebody down with you.
I just want to get you more than you got me.
That might be the ticket.
Yep, you're absolutely right. That's it. You know what? That adds a whole another level.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, Bo. I like that.
Just like the guy leading in points, you go and you go right in the beginning of the show, go out and smoke his ass.
Yeah,
if you have no chance,
you smoke him.
You just smoke him and take him out of the.
Oh, you know what? Now that's going to make people get headhunted. You know what? I didn't even think about that. As the year goes on, you start getting headhunted.
Exactly.
Ooh, you don't want to be on top till the end, maybe. Ooh, I like that.
It's almost like a bounty.
Yeah, I like that.
Like Jason brought up, the Siopas is a good point because.
They're going to be deep.
They're not behind the 8 ball at all.
No.
Because some guys have been around so long.
They've built it all.
They've went through every different type
Style.
of build style, and they know how to run the cars. And they just didn't come into the sport building limited weld cars.
Absolutely true.
They're old school. I call them old school because they are old school. I mean, and there's quite a few other drivers. A lot of guys coming from out of state that are old school drivers that've been around forever, so that's the curiosity part. A lot of the young guns, the hot young guns, might be putting their tail between their legs after the end of the night. Going, what the hell happened with that?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree with that 100%. I'm seeing a lot of old veteran drivers that are signed up for this show that have told me that they knew all along that they know how to drive.
Yep.
They can guarantee they can drive right to a feature win.
Yep.
They can't build to the pressures of the limited weld stuff.
Right.
So they're telling. I mean, a lot of them. I have entries that guys have come out of retirement just for this show and are driving 300 plus miles for it.
Yep.
But Bo, you don't hear a lot is we lose drivers every year, and guys are retiring, and no one talks about it because the guy just stops derby and it disappears. But I'm sure there's plenty of guys in the last 2, 3, 5 years that have said like, I just can't compete. I can't keep going to the next level. And then they see someone say, hey, let's step back to your style. And then you're like, yes, thank God a derby came back. Let me go run in that derby. Because let's be honest, after you're out for 5 years, it's hard to buy all your product and come back and go run a limit.
For a year.
It's impossible. Yeah,
you
it's
don't
hard.
see him come back that often.
No, I agree with. But no, this kind of build, you can.
Oh yeah.
You can come back to this one.
And
it doesn't take long either to build those cars. I mean, really, Josh, how?
No, don't ask me.
If you could measure in solid hours, how many hours do you really have tied up?
No,
in
don't
car?
ask me.
Don't
Mine's
ask
been in the
Josh.
mine's been in the garage since December. But no.
Yeah, but he said how many hours have you got in the car?
Oh, I got about 4. No, Bo, to be honest, like I took my time on stuff. I was building that in other cars, but really, you really don't have a lot of time in the cars. I mean, this is my style of building. I could build a lot of these in a year.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see that coming back because, I got burned out a few years ago. I tried to keep up with buying stuff and building stuff, and I just didn't have the knowledge that a lot of guys have, and I didn't put the money in the right spots.
Yep.
And my driving style and stuff, I went out, thought I was buying good iron, thought I was getting a motor built, the rear and the cradles and all that stuff, and then I still go out and I still junk my car in 5 minutes.
Yep.
And I just, when you put that much time into something, and you're still not competing. I got burned out.
You get burned out.
But all I heard over the last, say 4 or 5 years was a lot from you. Even was, Derby's changing, it's progressing, it's evolving, and I think it's plateaued and coming back. To
I agree with you
a little bit. I think I think it kind of hit a bubble. And you've seen a lot of shows, this show here, the King's Old School show, even over the weekend, the chain class. And I personally, I think that's great for the sport. I think there's 2 spectrums. Both are awesome. It takes a lot of work and time to do both sides. But I think it gives more options for everybody's style.
I think drivers met their plat. I think
Yeah.
drivers are calling out like, okay, enough is enough. This is as high as we want to go. Like, can we let some of the rest of us down over here?
Everybody don't have 40 grand. To
I
put in a
don't.
car,
I want to run
It's
more
just-
bow style, like this style right here. I
Yeah,
can't compete at
absolutely.
the next level, but I'll enjoy myself at this one.
Just remember what Jason said, coming from a guy who runs Luminous.
Yeah.
That's it.
And he can, because now you can build a really, really gnarly Lumina, like what we talked about with the Kings of Old School. There's some guys that are bringing a Lumina to run the
There are
old
guys
school.
that are gonna piss guys off that day, but Luminas
Easy now.
If you want, I didn't let it on back. If guys are bringing Luminas, I mean, they're gonna. I've seen it. You're gonna junk shockers. It's gonna piss guys off. But hey, that's the evolution of Demolition Derby.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. And I think you're going to see some changes. I remember watching Cuba a few years back, and there was a couple guys with the bubbles that showed up. And I almost think at the drivers' meeting, the drivers got together and said, we're not going to let a new style win this show because they just got tore
That was
up.
that was just
Tore
a grudge.
up.
That was a grudge match. From
Yeah.
Buffalo to down
Yeah.
in the southern tier.
I'm sure
Yeah.
there were some unseen things there, but I went to
That's
watch.
exactly what it was.
And I'm watching, and I was like, they didn't get an inch,
No.
and they
No.
just got tore up. And I
that
know
was-
some of the drivers driving the bubbles, and they were good guys. And I'm like, wow.
Well, I'll
man.
agree with you on that because if Lumina show up at King's Old School, I'm going to tell you, I got tons of retired drivers just like Bo's got.
Yep.
There ain't letting Luminas win that. If you got a Lumina, you better hold on.
It's all right.
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't saying you personally.
I'm bringing 3 cars, so I'll have to see the day of. All 3 are going to be W bodies. I didn't get a chance to get an old iron together, and I'm reminded daily that I'm not building full-size cars anymore.
That's true.
And I'm having the most fun I've had in years. So in the Luminas, you can build them in a few hours. It's great, and I encourage more people to get burned out. Leave the parts on the shelf for a year, pick up a $500 Lumina, build it in 8 hours, start to finish, glass out, throw a bumper on it, take it out, smash it, and be done with it.
Yeah.
And,
Hold it
and
wide
you'll
open.
Hold it
Yeah.
wide open, you'll feel great.
Yeah.
You'll get that spirit back, and that's what happened with me. I mean, I'm excited this year, and when I got burned out, it was like
I'm done. Yeah.
I just got a text message. Looks like the plans are that we will be back to the Crossroads show, and due to scheduling, Paul Nielsen won't be able to make it out to Pennsylvania this weekend. However, his schedule is open June 6th.
Please.
So
call
That'd be a
me.
good show.
Text me. Call me.
Paul Nielsen's talking about coming out for that show. So
Hit me
that's
up.
cool. Yeah, we'll absolutely be there.
Hey, isn't there somebody from California coming to that June 6th show?
Good. That'd be so awesome.
I don't know about that. But let's talk more about that. Let's talk.
California's going to.
I think that's Saturday.
No, not this Saturday.
No, not that
Or I
Saturday.
misspoke. It's
Keystone Nationals.
Keystone
in
Nationals,
June.
yeah.
Keystone Nationals is going to be nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Keystone Nationals, Bo, I'm going to throw this out there, okay? Because I haven't been on in a while. You are shaping up. You are getting to be. That show might be one of the best of the year. Let me just say that.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying that Keystone Nationals might be one of the best nights of Demolition Derby this year.
Absolutely.
I sure hope so. I know looking through the entries, we're not full yet, but we're close, and it's nasty. Holy cow, is it going to be nasty?
Yeah, that guy from California will be tough that night too.
It was nasty
Yeah.
last year.
And it's not
You know?
it's not nasty just in the limited weld either. I mean that super stock class, even in the compacts. I mean, holy cow, the talent that's going to be involved in this show. That's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah,
The
that is.
track itself is one of them peak gravel tracks, so it doesn't matter how much water's on it. It's just solid traction all night long.
Bo, on that show, how many cars are you having at Keystone Nationals?
I have it capped at 100 for the limited weld, 30 for the super stock, and I believe 30 for compacts.
I'm going to have to
The
get in on that
compacts
super
are
stock.
just on the verge of full, so is the super stock, and I believe I'm sitting around almost 80 entries for limited weld so far.
I think you have to build a limited weld decker.
No.
I think you ought to build aluminum with kickers.
Alumina with kickers?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want none of that. I don't want none of that. Ouch.
That's what I've been brainstorming.
Oh,
But,
man.
Bo, man, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. We sure look forward to
crazy.
catching up with you here this weekend. We're just about out of time.
Absolutely.
Good luck. Good luck with inspection. Hopefully everything goes smooth for you, and we look forward to seeing you down there.
Yeah, the nice thing is I looked at the weather forecast, and this might be one of my first derbies without rain.
Let's hope.
What are
You
you
have
doing?
any cool?
Don't tempt it.
Yeah, don't jinx
Don't
that.
tempt that.
Come on, Bo.
It's looking good, guys.
7 o'clock start time. More than enough room at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds for you to get down and check out the Super Stock Show, the start of the Reckless Warrior Series. Bo, man, I appreciate it. We'll catch up with you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
There goes
Thanks,
See you, Bo.
Bo Lockwood. Super Stocks coming up on Saturday, Keystone Nationals coming up on the 27th. We got to get
that man's season is going to be. Yeah. I'm telling everyone to just watch the shows that Bo puts on this year. Drivers are behind them, and it's going to be some good ones.
Next year is going to just.
It's just going to
skyrocket.
I'm telling you, Saturday is just going to be an awesome.
If you like it so far, this is just lighting the fuse on the powder keg.
Agree.
Appreciate everybody coming and hanging out with us here tonight on the Crash Course. That is going to do it for us this week. We'll see you Saturday down in Brookville, and right back here again next Monday on FingerLakes1.tv.
The Crash Course Podcast is brought to you in part by DerbyParts.com, the 2015 Bash for Cash and Smash It Demolition Derby, Bull Lockwood Motorsports, and the 2015 Keystone Nationals, Scioppa Racing and ScioppaRacing.com, and Derby Inc. magazine. Live it, breathe it, be it, Derby Inc.